So good afternoon, good morning, good evening once again. My name's Rob from the International Office and welcome to the Loughborough webinar today on the Students' Union and on sporting opportunities within Loughborough Sports at Loughborough University. This is going to be a recorded session, as I say, so there will be options for this to be sent out to you at a later date. I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Liam, my colleague Anna, and three of our current students at Loughborough University who are going to share their experience of clubs, societies and sports with you today. So I'm going to ask my colleague Liam to introduce himself and to share his screen. Good morning, Liam, and invite him to tell you a little bit about opportunities of playing sports alongside your degree.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So it's great to be able to speak to everybody today. My name is Liam Jefferson. I'm the athlete recruitment and talent manager at Loughborough Sport. But I'm also men's basketball assistant coach. So that's why you'll be able to see the couple of posters behind me here in my spare room. As Rob said, I'm going to chat through today for about 15 or 20 minutes just to give you an idea of what sport at Loughborough looks like. Now, headline sport at Loughborough, it's a very different sporting ecosystem to that of a typical British university, and it's very comparable to some other bigger sporting universities across the world. And a couple of headline things that are up on the screen there that will be of interest. We are #1 in the world for sports subjects, and that's been voted for in the QS World University Rankings, and we have been for the last 5 years. British universities and colleges sport champions for the last 40 years running, and I'll talk a little bit about what BUCS and what that looks like and what that is further on down the slides, but no other university in the country has ever won it. There's a certain amount of points that are available to the universities that partake in BUCS, and no other university has ever broke the 6,000 point barrier either in that competition. And we're also very proud of the fact that we're consistently amongst the best in university or in leagues, that aren't university leagues, so across national competitions and events as well. We have excellence in women's sport through our Lightning franchises. So there are currently 5 Lightning franchises at Loughborough University, and they are franchises that compete in professional leagues in women's cricket, netball, women's rugby, women's cycling, and a recently announced women's wheelchair basketball team as well. So we now have 5 franchises representing women's sport, which again, we're very, very proud of. World-class facilities, which I'll touch on later on in the presentation and give you a little bit of a quick feel for the sorts of facilities that we've got available here on campus. And then a really cool stat that I always like sharing in some of these presentations as well is that 12 of Team GB's 67 medals at the Rio Olympics were won by Loughborough-based athletes. So either Loughborough athletes based at Loughborough that are training or students at Loughborough University. Funnily enough as well, if we were to make Loughborough a country and compete in the Paralympic Games, we would have finished 10th in the medals that we won at the Paralympic Games through our students based at the university as well. So a lot of really cool things going on at Loughborough University within sport. But despite all of that, and having such a hard-earned reputation, an international reputation for sport, our kind of constant focus is on ensuring that every student has an opportunity to get involved, regardless of your ability, regardless of your level, regardless of your background. And so we have an inclusive sporting offer that covers off university sport, which is primarily our BUCS sport offering, and I'll talk about that. Recreational sport and opportunities to get involved in social sport, try things that are a little bit different, get involved in opportunities that you might otherwise not be able to. Our performance sport offer, which is obviously kind of the crown jewel in Loughborough sport, but not the be all and end all. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as well. We're also very proud of the fact that we have a parasport offer that runs throughout all of our sporting offer. And I'll touch on that as well. And then the last thing that I'll also touch on is our coach and volunteer academy, which separates us a little bit from other universities in this country as well. Worthwhile saying, if you've got any questions as I go through the presentation, please do just drop them into the chat, and then I'll take questions at the end. So first things first, university sport. Representing the university is a huge part of any student's journey at the university. We have 55 student-led sports clubs that are available through the Athletic Union for our students to join. The majority of those will compete in BUCS, as I said, and BUCS takes part on primarily a Wednesday afternoon. So universities up and down the country will provide Wednesday afternoons off of lectures and seminars for their students to be able to compete in university sport and compete in BUCS. And Loughborough is no different in that and provides a ton of support for our sports clubs to be able to compete in BUCS. There's obviously, with there being 55 clubs, training and competition schedules that are different for every single sport. So I'd love to be able to sit here and tell you that you're going to get X amount of training sessions and X amount of fixtures and games playing the sport that you are interested in. But it's worthwhile checking out our website to see what the different schedules across our 55 sports looks like. And then I kind of touched on it before, but we've been BUCS champions for the last 40 years. So across all of those sports that we compete in, every sport is competing for points. Those points will contribute towards an overall winner. And that's where Loughborough's excelled for 40 years now. Obviously, the last couple of years, due to COVID, we've not had an overall winner, but we're looking forward, hopefully, to getting back to be able to compete in BUCS competition next year. So one of the questions that I'll always get asked is, what are those 55 sports? And they're up on your screen now. So all of those sports up on screen are either athletic union or university sports. Those that are highlighted in the pink are our performance program sports. So athletics, badminton, basketball, cricket, cycling, football, hockey, netball, rugby union, squash, swimming, tennis, and triathlon. But then I also need to now add wheelchair basketball because that's been, as I said, a newly introduced performance program sport, but we also now have a wheelchair basketball AU club as well, which is going to be competing in BUCS next year for the first time. So they're all the sports that we have on offer within our athletic union. Like I said, all train at multiple times throughout the week. We'll primarily compete on a Wednesday afternoon, but those sports where they're not traditionally team sports or fixture based, they will travel up and down the length and breadth of the country, take part in events, take part in competitions, and all of that is covered within an AU membership fee, which varies again across different sports. But if you're interested in any of those specific sports, I'm sure we can provide some information on what those sorts of costs associated to some of them might be. Next one up is, it's our get involved slide, but this is where we cover off all of our social sport and recreational sport offerings. So, I mean, it says it up there on the screen, but whether you're a beginner or someone that's looking to come to Loughborough and be an elite level athlete, there's definitely something for you. First one up is hall sports and IMS. So if you come to Loughborough and your accommodation is hall based, or even if you're based off campus as a postgraduate student, for example, you can get involved in IMS. And that's where all of our university halls of accommodation will compete against each other. It's a completely free program available to students at the university. It's a great way to be able to meet new friends, compete, but also compete at a level that's not at the highest level within university sport in this country. So maybe something that you're not overly keen in competitive sport, but you still want to have that fun side of things, you can compete in this. And there's opportunities within IMS and hall sport, within badminton, basketball, football, futsal, hockey, netball, rugby, tennis, beach volleyball on our beach volleyball courts up at the top end of campus, cricket, handball, swimming, table tennis. I think there's others that I'm probably missing off the list as well, but there's a bunch of opportunity within hall sport and IMS sport to get involved in. Our social sport program offers free competitive weekly leagues, but also opportunities to just play socially with groups of friends or students. And you can enter a team either through your department or through a society. And the good thing about our social sport leagues is they kind of allow you to define your own level of competition. It's just a great way to stay active and take a break from perhaps some of your academic commitments. Then next one up there is we have our My Lifestyle program. And again, it's a free recreational sport program. And that's kind of specifically designed for students and Loughborough University staff. But it creates an environment completely free of competition. There's no expectation, there's no commitment. It's for those that want to exercise, keep fit, play sport. You can turn up to any sort of session, providing that you've booked on in advance. And they're all led, they're well organized, well-structured sessions that kind of cater for all abilities of those that want to get involved. And then we also have up at our Holywell gym based on campus, we have fitness classes throughout the year. So there's dance classes, your mind and body classes, high energy classes, body combat, grit, yoga, Zumba, all those sorts of things will take part up at Holywell gym on our top end of campus. So that's all of our kind of get involved opportunities. Then we have our performance program sports. And as I said before, our performance programs are kind of the jewel in the crown of Loughborough Sport. It's where we feel we offer unrivaled support to all of our top athletes that are interested in coming and taking part in sport within those sports that are up on screen now. All of our performance programs led by expert coaching staff who kind of lead both individual and team performance, but they're also then supported by a wide range of performance support services as well, which I'll touch on the next slide so that you can get a feel for what our performance program athletes get access to. But each of these sports that are up on screen, as well as looking to succeed in bucks, similar to the 55 AU sports that I've shared before, will also be looking to be successful in national and international competition as well. And that's where, like I said at the start of the presentation, Loughborough is just slightly different to other universities in the UK, where we are looking to compete on a national and an international stage, as well as within university sport. Some of the leagues that these teams will compete in: the Women's British Basketball League, the Kia Super League in cricket, Netball Super League, which is at the minute on Sky Sports in this country. So it's on Sky Sports TV every week. And then the women's rugby compete in the Tyrrell's Premier 15s. So really high level leagues that some of these teams are supporting in, are competing in, sorry. And then the performance support offer, like I said, that kind of surrounds the athletes in those performance programs is a vast experience of practitioners. They all come from multiple scientific disciplines, and they work very closely with our coaching staff across those sports and with the athletes to best support them in the areas that are up on screen there for you as well. And they're all based within our performance center on campus, which includes one of the country's largest strength and conditioning gyms. There's a performance lab, sports medicine and physiotherapy clinics. There's everything that you would need as a performance level athlete. The other thing that's just worthwhile me briefly mentioning at the bottom of that list there of bullet points is scholarships. We do have sporting scholarships available, and they're primarily decided by our head coach within those performance programs. What I would say is our scholarships are extremely competitive within sport, and every year we're kind of inundated with requests for scholarships. We don't have a scholarship offer that massively rivals other universities in the country, but that's because we decide to use the support and our finance to pump money into surrounding athletes within our performance programs with the best level of support that we can do. So rather than provide financial scholarship support, the performance support areas that are up on screen are where we probably offer in excess of £4,000 to £5,000 per athlete sometimes, in support that they're getting through S&C coaching, through nutrition, through the physio access. So worthwhile just kind of putting that into perspective with our performance sport offer. Parasport, I'll just briefly touch on this, but Parasport, we're the only university that we're aware of in the world that has a Parasport strategy. And rather than keeping Parasport separate from everything else that happens within sport, we kind of embed it in all of the work. So where I've talked about performance sport and recreational sport, it's embedded in what we do. So performance sport offer, we have performance athletics, swimming, badminton, triathlon and wheelchair basketball offerings within all of those sports. And then recreational, some of the My Lifestyle offers and IMS leagues that I mentioned will also be Parasport offer as well. So that kind of runs throughout everything that we do. And we're really, really pushing Parasport at the university. It's continuing to grow. And that's then seen in the fact that we are one of probably the leading universities in the world for research and innovation in the Parasport space. So through our School for Sport and Exercise Science, there's a bunch of research that's going on within Parasport. And it is definitely a hub for Parasport that we're continuing to grow and we're really proud of. And then the last thing that was on my list before I give you a bit of a feel for facilities and then just talk a little bit about some athlete experiences, but also what's happening with COVID, is our Coach and Volunteer Academy. So based within our Students' Union, we have our Coach and Volunteering Academy. And it's there for those people that are involved in sport, but those that perhaps don't want to compete or partake in sport, but that still want to be involved in some way, shape or form. And there's a bunch of opportunities, again, to get involved through partnerships that both Loughborough Sport has, but also that the Students' Union has. There's opportunities to gain industry experience that enhances either personal or professional development, as well as kind of your overall employability. And the Coaching and Volunteering Academy will also work closely with the University Careers Service to kind of help you identify what perhaps your dream job might be after getting some experience within the CVA. And as I say, there's a bunch of different opportunities, range of opportunities for students to get involved in. So that could be coaching through some of our performance programs, or perhaps through some of our AU clubs. Could be officiating, whether that's again Bucks fixtures or some of our weekend fixtures. Events and event management is always crucial with some of the caliber of our sports teams and programs that we've got, is that we're always looking for volunteers to help, support and lead across those events. The gym classes that I spoke about before, we always have opportunities for gym activators there. And then a little bit of a sidestep, but still within sport, is there's opportunities with marketing and communications. So as you can imagine, with 55 sports clubs, we can't market all of them ourselves. And that's where some of our student volunteers across the CVA will come in and help us to be able to do that. The performance support offer that I put up around strength and conditioning, nutrition, physio, there's opportunity there. And then every year, obviously not in a COVID year, but we will run an annual trip to Zambia where we take a group of students out to work with local schools in Zambia to provide opportunities within sport. So again, just a wide range of opportunities across our Coaching and Volunteering Academy. And hopefully that's kind of the feel that you get across everything that we've got involved with Loughborough Sport, is just the length and breadth of opportunity, no matter the level that you compete at or the level that you're involved in sport. Last thing that I just want to chat about very briefly is our facilities, because we are very proud of the fact that we're probably the home to the country's largest concentration of world-class facilities. And I think we sometimes have to myth bust here at Loughborough that because they're world-class facilities and they're available to our performance programs, that they're exclusive to our performance programs. And that's just not the case. So all of our facilities that are based on campus, all of them are accessible, no matter if you're a participation athlete or you're a performance athlete, or you're someone that's just looking to book, say, a badminton court because you want to go and play with a couple of friends on your course. You have access to all of the facilities on campus. There's none of them that are kind of off limits, providing that they're bookable and that they're available and that you can do that. And again, all of our opportunities within IMS, within My Lifestyle, all of the stuff that I've spoken about on the slides before, they're all housed in these facilities that we have on campus. And some of them I've highlighted on the bullet point there, but I think it's easier. I've got a video that I'm going to show, and touch wood, this is where Zoom and technology and everything works. And hopefully you'll get a feel for what sport and what facilities on campus really look like. So hopefully that gives you more of a feel for what our facilities like on campus than just me talking about them. That video is on YouTube, so if it was a little bit fuzzy coming through, or if you wanted to watch it again, just go onto YouTube and type Loughborough Sport, and then it's one of the most recent uploads that we've put on our Loughborough Sport YouTube channel, so you can go and have a look there. But hopefully, like I said, just it gives you a feel for how much there's going on campus. But all of those facilities are housed on our 440-acre campus. So you can be walking around campus and there is always something going on those facilities. So I think definitely worth checking that out again and having a little look. And then the last thing that I kind of just want to touch on before I open it up to any sort of questions is what's going to happen with sport and coronavirus. What can happen? I mean, who knows? Hopefully at the minute, things are starting to open up a little bit more here in the UK. Outdoor sport has already started to restart recently. And then from Monday next week, indoor sport for the majority of indoor sports will also open up as well. So things are trending in the right direction. I'm obviously very biased because I work for Loughborough, but Loughborough Sport has been probably one of the leading universities in the country to try and ensure that whatever can happen within sport has happened. So a lot of our elite sports, because they've had an exemption, have continued through. But then the minute restrictions have lifted or been changed, Loughborough's been there prepared and ready to put some form of sporting offer on to be able to best support our students to have the best sporting experience that they possibly can do. So I would say that if you're looking to come to Loughborough, Loughborough's where you want to be, the university will always be doing what it can to best support you to still have some form of sporting offer. And then what will next academic year look like? We're hopeful that it will be very close to a normal year. So Bucks will be restarting and has restarted in some of the outdoor sports for the summer term. September, October obviously is when our Bucks season and the majority of university sport will start because it's in line with term time. And we are very hopeful that there will be some form of sporting offer that's a lot closer to what would be a normal year. Obviously, that's still 5 or 6 months away, so 4 or 5 months away, sorry. So things can change, but with the way the things are trending in the direction we're looking at going at the minute, I would be very, very hopeful. So then just a final wrap-up slide from me. Why sport at Loughborough? Hopefully I've covered off that in a whistle-stop 20 minutes, and I'm conscious that I've probably talked pretty quickly to whiz through that, but we've got some students who will be able to share some of their experiences as well. But it's an inclusive sporting offer no matter the level, and there's opportunity for everybody to get involved, whether that's performance through to participation. The high performance athlete development environment that we offer here, we believe is second to none. All of that is housed within our world-class facilities, which are accessible to every single student. And we have the expertise to be able to support our athletes and our students, no matter the level that they're coming to partake in sport at Loughborough. And then the final bit there in the speech marks is kind of our strat line for Loughborough Sport, is that we want to provide a sporting experience so positive that it's life-shaping, and that's no matter the level that you're looking to come to compete and be involved in sport at Loughborough. So that's everything from me. Massive thank you for listening to me and for taking the time to be interested in sport at Loughborough. The website is up on the slide there if you want any more information. Then there's also my email address if there's anything that perhaps you don't want to ask in the questions today, or if that you want to reach out to find out more about any of the programs and opportunities that I've kind of talked about, please feel free to reach out, and I'd be more than happy to provide some more information. So thank you very much. And I think, Rob, I'll pass to you as to what's next.
Thanks, Liam. Really appreciate your in-depth presentation, and it sparked lots of conversation in the chat as well, all positive. So thank you very much. A quick question for me. I know we've got a couple of hands raised, so we'll come to the students in turn. Just a quick question, Liam. If you were a prospective student from Loughborough, how do you join the societies? So how do students get to know more about the clubs and societies and whatever level they're interested in performing, and when do the trials and activities take place?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and one that I probably glossed over a little bit. So within each of the sports, we hold what's called our AU Bazaar, which is essentially a sports fair that we take over our sports hall. So the David Wallace Sports Hall, which is a free court basketball facility, we take over that and have a stand in there for every single sport. where prospective or students, that have joined the university in September, October, so during Freshers Week, will go and find out more about the sport, how to get involved, what the trials will look like, what the sort of offering within that sport is, and they can just gather all of the information that they need there. Obviously, if you're trying to find out more about the sport before you get to Loughborough, the website is the best point of contact to go to, and that should direct you to either a coach or someone that's on the committee for those sports, so that you can find out more about the sport before you get here. If there's anything that's not on there, then obviously drop me an email and I'll be able to point you in the right direction for someone to speak to before you get here. But yeah, once you get here, Freshers Week is when everyone will look at the societies and sports that they can get involved in. Trials traditionally then will be the 2 weeks following Freshers Week. So that kind of second and third week of term is when all of our sports will hold their trials. The one difference to that is our performance programs and our performance sports, because a lot of those will already have identified or scouted athletes and students that are coming in to join those programs. So it's very likely that the performance programs are already in pre-season, already in competition by the time we get to September, October. But for all of our university clubs, it's the AU Bazaar and then the 2 weeks following when we have trials. And then it's pretty much into the thick of it straight from there. So then seasons start and fixtures start and competitions start. And then we go from there. So yeah, that's the easiest way. And like I said, check out the website or drop me an email if there's any information that you can't find.
Thanks, Liam. That's great. A couple of questions we're having quite specific to certain sports, and obviously our panelists are helping to direct students to those. But we've had one, if, for example, you wanted to participate in one sport and volunteer for another at the same time, will that be possible?
Yep. Yeah, that's completely possible. So there's nothing to stop you from taking part in as much as you want. I think obviously the big thing is time management and making sure that you can balance all of the commitments that you've got. So because there is so much to get involved in, you've got your academics, you've got the sports side, you might have societies that you want to join as well. There's loads of different things that you can get involved in. Just because you're involved in one, it's not going to restrict you from the other. You could potentially play multiple sports within Bucks. The big challenge is a lot of the fixtures are on a Wednesday afternoon. So if you've got perhaps, let's say you play football, but you're also playing volleyball as well, and you've got a football fixture and a volleyball fixture, you've got to make the choice between which one you're going to do, which sometimes the clubs will take that into account because they're looking to be successful. They're looking to be competitive within their sports, but there's nothing to stop you from getting involved in as much as you want to. And I guess in answer to the specific question, if you wanted to compete in a sport and volunteer in another sport, there's absolutely nothing to stop you from doing that. So yeah, there's going to be nothing that restricts people. It's more, what can you do in the time that you've got available to you, and how do you best manage that time that you've got?
Brilliant. Thanks, Liam. We are getting a few more questions in, but I think at this time I'd like to just thank Liam again for sharing his time and details with us today. And I'd like to welcome Anna to the session. Hi, Anna. Thanks for joining us. And in your role, perhaps to introduce yourself within Loughborough Students' Union, that will be great. And also to learn perhaps more about some of the opportunities on some of the sports-related or perhaps non-sports-related opportunities within the LSU. So Anna, over to you.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, hi everybody. Could I possibly have presenter rights by any chance? So I thought I could do a bit of I'll introduce myself and then I'll show you a bit about what we do, and hopefully just to kind of get your curiosity flowing. I think that's the main purpose, because I would really like for you to go on our website and really check out some of the things we do. Before I do share my screen, my name is Anna. I'm the current Education Executive Officer. A students' union in the UK has any university in the UK will have a students' union that is run for the students by the students. And every year we elect student representatives. The students elect them through a democratic cross-ballot across our campuses, where they vote for the people they want to represent. And that's how I've gotten my role for the 2 years that I've been in it. So I'm the Education Executive Officer, primarily the student representative on academic matters at all levels of study, undergrad, postgraduate thought, and postgraduate research inclusive. My day-to-day job kind of involves liaising with students and staff to ensure that the student voice is put at every decision, put forward in every decision made by university and union colleagues, and that our students feel represented, that they feel that the feedback that they are raising regarding their academic or student experience is actually put to action, and that people facilitate that dialogue between the students and staff. So the student-staff partnership is really important here at Loughborough. I'm going to share my screen now, just so I can hopefully introduce you to a few of the things that we do at the union. And as I said, I would like to use this as a primary way for you to hopefully go after this meeting and really look around our website and see what we do at a more granular level. So despite everything, of course, we are very proud of the awards we've received. But the thing that always stands out to me on the slide is the thing in the corner. We are run by the students for the students, and that is very, very much so important because more often than not, our students will need our support on different matters, whether we're talking about their academic or student experience. And it's important for them to have a union that represents their best interests, and that the student representatives lobby and push for positive change for the students, especially when made aware of the challenges that they're facing. In terms of what we offer, as I've mentioned, academic experience is very important to us, and it's important that our students feel they have the avenues to feel represented. And as a result, within academic representation in every single one of our schools, in every single one of our departments, on every single course and program, we will have something we call a course representative. That is a student volunteer that has offered themselves their time and has applied for the position to represent the rest of their peers. So the course representative and their school presidents will go and talk to staff at what we call student staff liaison committees, just to make sure that feedback is raised with the appropriate individuals. And again, the student staff partnership continues to grow and develop. Within my area, we also talk about peer support, whereby we offer peer-to-peer pastoral and academic support to our students. Every single one of our first years will have a mentor. When it comes to our postgraduate community, we have things called these SSN, so social and student involvement networks, where people at PGT and PGR level can get together and really contribute to the postgraduate community as well. And perhaps most important, we have something called LSU Advice, which is our non-judgmental, independent and confidential service that is again provided to all students, regardless of the level of their level of study. This is a service that is independent from the union and the university, and will support students, especially when in conflict with university, whether we're talking about parking offenses or academic misconduct. Our trained advisors are here to support our students all throughout the year at both our campuses, Loughborough and London, respectively. Apart from that, another thing that we value and we're really, really passionate about is the welfare and diversity of our students. We have over 9 associations now running to make sure that minorities and liberation groups feel represented across the union. So many of our students come forward and showcase their abilities and what makes them special. And we have things ranging from Nightline, which again is an independent service provided to students when they need support, all the way to the International Students Network that puts on events, activities, and projects meant to celebrate our international students. Same it goes for our Mature Undergraduate Association, which now has changed to Mature Association, just make sure that students that are considered mature students when they first enter the university feel represented, and so on and so forth. And as I've said, it would be great if you wanted to learn more about this to go on the website and read about each association individually. It does not run on a membership basis. Anyone can partake, anyone can be part of the associations and the work that they put forward, and that is very much so important to us. Next, we have our extracurricular activities or our student opportunities per se. Of course, we've talked about sport, and you can actually see that this is outdated slightly because we have 60, if I'm not mistaken, Liam. And apart from that, we also have other opportunities. So societies, which I feel we've been talking about a bit throughout the presentation, is kind of like our crown jewel, really, because we have societies ranging from culture and faith societies all the way to Quidditch and Disney, and people that want to find themselves and find people that share the same either likings, can come and join a society and be part of that via membership. If you don't feel like we have what you want, you can always form a society yourself. I think lately we need 15 a minimum of 15 members to form a new society, but we're always more than happy to support our societies and our volunteer groups to feel like they can bring something new to the table. Recently, we've had the Bay Society being launched in between the 2 years, and it's been so progressive and so interesting to see how a group of students that felt something was missing now has a home within a society. So that's been amazing. We do have a lot of leadership opportunities, and I feel like I'm gonna hopefully touch upon this a bit towards the end in terms of how you get involved with the union and what you can do depending on the level. So I will come back to that in a second. Apart from that, in the union, we have different sections that do take care of different student opportunities, and I will quickly run you through them. Oh. Sorry, Robin, is there a question? No, I don't think so. Should I keep going? Fabulous. Thank you very much. So I'm going to first talk to you about enterprise. So this is one of our sections that basically offers our students opportunities to hone and develop their skill sets, as well as give them the initial support to either launch their own businesses or be more entrepreneurial in what they do. And we've had such progress over the years as well. We think enterprise has such a big impact at both our campuses and for students, regardless of their level of study. So it's been great to see how that has been evolving over the past years, especially because it is kind of a new section within the union as well. So that's very exciting. Media is fantastic. It's entirely student-led all the way to their section chair. That is a volunteer with the rest of the executive officers. They do things ranging from giving students the opportunities to present, write articles, take pictures, have their own radio shows. So it's really quite exciting in terms of the opportunities they give within their own section. RAG and Action are our volunteering sections. They present students with opportunities to make a positive change in the community, whether through directly working as a volunteer. This could range from working with the elderly all the way to feeding alpacas, all the way to doing gardening. There's such a big spectrum of things you can do with Action. And then with RAG, that's our raising money for charity section. People get out of their way to make sure that they contribute to bigger causes, sorry. And this could be anything from internal events. So we have our famous firework night that we put on every year, and it always brings the community around the union and the university together, as well as external events like climbing Kilimanjaro, for example. So students have a lot of opportunities to get involved, and the sections are here to facilitate that opportunity and provide them with the tools, the training, and the resources necessary for them to actually feel like they can do so. Although this may have changed slightly in the past year, we are still the biggest entertainment venue in the Midlands. We are very proud of the student opportunities we put forward, but we also facilitate the night events or the day events that happen for our students. So normally in a normal year, our venue would be open on 3 nights a week. For Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, where people can come and basically enjoy the union as a nightclub. We have different performers coming in. Grad balls are usually fantastic opportunities for students to feel like the whole building is transforming just for them and really making it feel like they are part of that big family that we have. Obviously, venue has been operating quite differently this year. We have still tried to introduce things to mediate for the fact that we can no longer have in-house events. So over the past year, we've run something called the Social Distance Social Club, where we have facilitated this activity outside of the union rather than inside. People come around, they get benches, they listen to music, they can enjoy time with their friends. And of course, as I've mentioned, just that feeling of being part of the community has still remained quite much so important for the union and the university at the main campus, especially. So I think that's been the presentation. Again, I wanted to touch upon something that I've mentioned. There are 2 main ways in which our students can get involved with the union. They can come and partake in the events that we put forward or help us facilitate them. We have over 10,000 opportunity volunteers of volunteering opportunities, and that is actually correct. Across every single one of the section, the section chair or executive officer will be helped by students called senior volunteers, and then their own volunteers to be able to facilitate everything that I've talked to you about. This could range from being a course rep, as I've mentioned, all the way to being part of the RAC committee or the action committee, to being a project leader, being a society's chair, and so on and so forth. So we have a plethora of opportunities for our students to get involved in creating the opportunities for other students, and of course, enjoying them themselves. We do this because we really want students to feel like they have gained skills past what they normally would gain, and for them to feel like they have been able to work on their professional and personal experience alongside their studies. So we are very proud of the opportunities we offer our students, and we try to increase and make them even more accessible to all levels of studies throughout the years as well. When it comes to the London campus, the offering may look slightly different from what I have presented. We are still very adamant on the fact that we want our students in London to feel like they're contributing to the overall student experience that they are part of as well. But yeah, I think that's been my presentation. Thank you so much. And again, as I said, lsu.co.uk is our website. I would highly encourage you to go and have a look at what we actually offer a bit more at the granular level. So for example, what action projects we actually put forward, what you can get involved with in media, what RAD projects you can take part in, and so on and so forth. But yeah, thank you so much for this. I really hope you enjoyed this and that has given you some form of way of looking at it. And from where I'm sat, we do mean it when we say we're here for the students, by the students, because we want to provide a fantastic student experience, and as well as really facilitate the academic experience of our students.
Thanks, Anna, so much for joining us and sharing that insightful presentation. It's certainly the opportunity to work with alpacas seems amazing from my perspective as a big animal lover. Thank you for covering everything. Same question, I guess, that I started with Liam. I presume to get involved in the societies, to get involved in LSU action, does that tend to take place in the first few weeks of term when students arrive?
So same thing, we have an activities bazaar in the beginning of the year where people can see more or talk to our volunteers and our staff members a bit about the opportunities we offer in a year. But we also try to have different events throughout the year to allow students to revisit some of these if they've not had the chance to start from the beginning. You don't have to have continuous involvement with the section. So you could be anywhere from going on one alpaca farm trip to being the one running them throughout the year. There's no need for you to feel like you have to be there all the time. You can do this almost as an opt-in, aside from the fact or like the opportunities that I've mentioned where you are the ones responsible for running some of the events alongside the executive officers and section chairs, because that would be the only time when we expect continuous involvement, of course, as you would in any project, really. But apart from that, you can jump in and out of them as the year progresses.
Lovely, thanks, Anna. I think you've certainly covered most of the points that are in the questions and that we get asked on a common basis. Thank you, Anna, and thanks, Liam. What we're going to do now is just hear from some of our current students. We've got about 15 minutes left. Please do keep the questions coming in, guys. It's really good to hear of your interests and to see what's important to you as part of your university choices. Joey, we're going to start with you. If you can unmute yourself, welcome to the session. If you can say hello, talk a bit about what you're studying and your perhaps experience in sports so far. Welcome, Joey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Joey. I'm from the US, originally from California, and I'm studying sport and exercise psychology here on a postgraduate program at Loughborough. And I'm also a part of the elite level basketball team here. So kind of involved with the sports scene as well. And I really just got into Loughborough and kind of got interested in it from the sporting background. I've been playing sports my whole life. And it really is just one of the premier universities here as far as like the whole culture is kind of revolved around it. I've been able to use the facilities all year, and it's clear that sport is a pretty high priority over here, and it's cool to see how many different clubs and different like intramural teams there are. And I think the one thing I've noticed since our basketball season ended, I've actually joined the American Football Club, and I've gotten involved with the spike ball tournaments around here on campus. And I can say it's just like a really friendly environment. The cool thing is that everyone on campus is like really inclusive. So anytime you want to like maybe start playing a sport you're not too familiar with, or you haven't been playing much in your life, it's very inclusive, and they're very accepting as far as taking people in and just kind of showing you the ropes and showing you how to play different sports. So I found it very cool to kind of just diversify my sporting background a bit and get to, play different sports that, I might not have been able to play at other places.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joey. Sounds amazing. You've been able to do not only basketball, but like you say, join other sports as well. Quick question for me. So I know Liam's touched on this before, but just to kind of emphasize, how does performance sports work alongside your degree? So if you'd be able to talk through training, matches, and also studies as well, in terms of just to get a viewpoint about a timetable on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balance. There's time management that has to be involved. I know a lot of people have asked about how can you balance performance with maybe volunteering. And I will say with about 4 trainings a week, and then they were playing at least a game every weekend, it's definitely a commitment, and it's not something that you can just kind of, throw in your schedule at the elite level. It wasn't too hard for me coming from college in the States. I played basketball there as well, so I was kind of used to the student athlete life and being able to manage my time with that. So it's definitely something that you don't want to overwhelm yourself with. That's why I waited until our season was over. I think that's a great opportunity for people who are potentially looking to play sports, is kind of get yourself settled with your course first. And like I said, everyone's so accepting and so inclusive that you can join a club, or you can join a different team, not at the elite level, but at a more leisure level, kind of like whenever you're feeling comfortable.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joey. Really good to hear from you. I think we'll certainly come back to you a little bit later on, but that's a really good insight. Jasmine, welcome to the session. If you can introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you're studying, where you're from, and perhaps a little bit about your student journey so far when it comes to extracurriculars, sports, and societies as well.
So hi everyone, my name's Jasmine. I'm a second-year student studying sport and exercise science, and I'm Malaysian, but I grew up in Dubai in the UAE, and I'm still currently here due to COVID. I was a national swimmer before I came to uni, having swam competitively for 8 years. So the sports at Loughborough really appealed to me when I was applying for my first year. However, in my first year, I did take a year out of competitive sport due to an injury, and just to settle into uni life. And I first started with the IMS representing my hall, and I did water polo and also focused on weight training after joining Holywell. And then in my second year, I trialed and was selected for the AU water polo team. And honestly, it was a really great experience. I got to meet loads of other ex-swimmers actually, who then found a passion for water polo. And it was nice to just train like a couple times a week. We were free to go to the gym and have running sessions in our own time. And even after COVID, obviously we couldn't be swimming every other day. So our captains held like team socials over Zoom, as well as fitness sessions. So we could all, kind of stay connected as well as keep our training up. And then I've also joined the Loughborough Train and Gain Gym Society, which is, I think, a new society started 2 years ago. And it's just for girls, and it kind of aims to bring together girls with similar passions, as well as to like reduce gym anxiety, I think, which a lot of girls do struggle with coming to uni. We have had quiz nights all through COVID to keep us all like connected. And it was really helpful being part of such a supportive group, especially during COVID, because I know a lot of people were feeling a bit down or a bit lonely, and it was just nice to keep that up. And not only has Loughborough Sport been good for, my sporting opportunities, but it's also helped in my academics. For my industrial placement next year, I secured a performance analysis position with the Loughborough hockey performance team for the 2021 to 2022 season. Brilliant.
Wow, that must have been quite quite an achievement to get
Yeah.
involved in that. How it's very exciting, particularly as somebody who's clearly interested in sports. Alongside that, that's brilliant. Just in terms of Jasmine, you're, I guess, looking kind of touching on what Joe's looked at in my question. On average, when it comes to your kind of the amount of time you're in classes, which is very subjective, of course, and then how the Wednesday afternoon for undergraduates becomes free time. Would you be able to just talk through how that would work in terms of being able to perform in sports at whatever level, and how that, and whether that goes into weekends and evenings, just to get a flavour of how that would look for students?
Obviously it depends on your course, but I would say the majority of my lectures and labs luckily happen to be in the morning. So I usually have evenings free, and they've arranged all of our water polo training sessions to be in the evening, purposely to avoid, clashes. I would say overall though, I had a lot more free time than I expected coming into uni. I didn't really feel that time pressured until around exams time, but I suppose everybody would feel that during exams. So they do really coordinate it so you can, interact with everything you want to.
Brilliant, thanks, Jasmine. It sounds like you've really making the most of your time at Loughborough, which is really good to see. And good luck for the placement year ahead.
Thank you.
We may come back to you a little bit later on, and we've got a little bit of time for questions to be sent in. I'd like to introduce Marushi to you all now, who's one of our current students from India. Marushi, if you're able to share a little bit about your experience with us. I think she might possibly be having technical difficulties, so we'll perhaps come back to Marushi a bit later on. Questions coming in. I guess, Liam, just to, if I can come to you, on the kind of the CFA side of things, CVA rather, what kind of level, if we're looking at, say, football as an example with coaching, what kind of level can students start at, and what can they progress to? And perhaps another question that we get asked is will that cost anything to the student?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's no kind of prerequisite on the level required to get involved in the CVA. There's opportunities there to be able to support any of our young coaches or volunteers that want to get involved with any opportunities, really. Cost is going to vary dependent on what the opportunities are. So there's some opportunity to have some of the coaching qualifications depending on what level they are and what governing body of sport they are supported by. So like football, for example, there's an opportunity to subsidize that through the CVA. So there is an opportunity to do that. But I mean, some of it's not going to be fully funded, but there are opportunities there. And then in return, there would be almost an expectation to get involved in a certain number of hours. The level that we can get up to, I mean, if you take our men's, again, using football as the example, take our men's football program, the two assistant coaches on the men's performance program this year came through the CVA and came through opportunities that were involved in the CVA, and had also volunteered with coaching some of the lower Bucks teams. So they've been involved with the second team, the third team, the fourth team in the past. So again, yeah, it's going to vary sport by sport, but there's definitely opportunity there to get some of your qualifications, to be able to support it towards some of your qualifications, but then also to receive probably some mentoring and support from some of the staff within the CVA to help you get to that point as well.
Thanks, Liam. We're getting certain questions through on variety of different sports offered, and sometimes we get asked, where do you play golf, for example, or how do you get involved in equestrian? Because I presume that's not on campus. So just in terms of where the sports off campus tend to take place, and whether transport will be provided to those as part of the as being part of the club or society.
Yeah, again, varies sport by sport. Golf, I know we use the local golf course, which is probably a 5-minute drive away from campus. Equestrian is a little further afield, but the Students' Union and the Athletic Union support those clubs to look at transport to those venues. Sometimes it's a case of doubling up with some of the other athletes and some of the other students that are in those clubs and teams, and some will have cars and will drive to facilities. Other times there's opportunity for the AU, like I said, to be able to support. Using one sport that I specifically support is snow sport. Obviously, there's no mountains anywhere close to Loughborough for you to be able to go and do that, but there is a dry slope in Stoke, which is about a 45-minute drive away. And in order for the training to do that, then there's a coach that goes every single week, and the club get on that coach and head off to Stoke to do their training there. So yeah, for those sports where they're not based on campus, there is support to be able to do it. A lot of them are within the local area. None of them really are further afield than a 45-minute, hour-long drive. Similarly, within our cycling program, we use the velodrome that's at Derby, although the majority of our cycling program is all road-based. And there's also some cross as well now that's been incorporated to the cycling program. So yeah, again, just wherever we can do, we'll support clubs and sports to be able to get out to those facilities. But it's nothing that would make it a burden upon your experience of being involved in that sport. And that's something that we're always keen to do.
Thanks, Liam. And one more question, if you don't mind. Do any of our elite programs pay athletes for participation?
Some of them do, yes. So those primarily that are competing at the franchise level, so a lot of our women's teams, so the rugby, cricket, netballs are competing in professional leagues. So oftentimes the makeup of some of those teams will be a split between professional athletes and students. It just so happens that they're based at Loughborough University and are part of our sporting strategy. I'd say it's rare that we would pay a student to be a part of one of those teams, because there's other opportunities for us to be able to support them through either the scholarship funds or through like the performance support offer and everything that we put around an athlete. But oftentimes what you will find is for those athletes that come in and take part in our performance programs, they will often stay in Loughborough and compete for those teams that are competing in the professional and the semi-professional leagues after they've graduated. And part of my role that I've not really touched on in this is to help support those athletes to find local employment in and around the area so they continue to compete for those teams. So there are payment opportunities. They're very rare. They're very specific to certain sports, but there are opportunities there, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Liam. Jerry, I'm going to just come to you as we kind of conclude it and wrap up today. And thank you everyone for your questions and participation. Coming from the US, obviously it's a very different country. What advice would you give to prospective students now about coming to the UK, and particularly in terms of performance sports? So any advice you would give based on your experience?
Well, I mean, to start, I mean, it all started like with the visa process. Don't get too overwhelmed about that. Don't let yourself get too stressed out about that, because a lot of it is out of our control. And that was like the first thing I remember that I was very stressed out about. And it all will work out, and it always does. And other than that, I mean, just be open to trying new things. Like I said, I mean, I was willing to kind of branch out and do different sports. And I think we can get caught up, especially for people who are kind of locked in on one sport. We can get caught up in the States of just kind of focusing on that one sport. So being able to just like understand that when you do go to Loughborough, you're going to a high class sporting environment across all sports. And there's sports that I didn't even know existed here. Like, I mean, netball, I had never even heard of before coming over here, but now like we practice in the same gym as netball, and I've just been like watching that and just been like, wow, like I never would have seen any of this had I been back home in the United States. And it really is just like a cultural stretching experience for me. And it's very important to kind of just be observant and always just be grateful that you're in a completely new place, and there's so much going on from a sporting perspective that you can kind of learn from and take with you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joey. And thanks for being part of today. Jasmine, anything to add to that in terms of coming and participating in a new country?
I would just say, like, try things that you wouldn't normally do, because I feel like I'd done quite a bit of sport, but not at such a level that I would say I was competitive prior to coming to uni. But then, you know, with all like the My Lifestyle classes and IMS, you get to participate in a environment where it's not so scary if you're not amazing at a sport, and you might find something you're actually really talented in and you might enjoy. And then Loughborough is the perfect place to develop that.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And Liam, Anna, anything else to conclude from you before we finish today?
Only thing I'd add is I'm happy, like I said at the end of my presentation, to take any questions that haven't been able to be answered in the chat, or if anyone wants a wider conversation. So just after this, I'll drop my email address in the chat again for anyone that wants it. Please feel free to reach out, and even if it's me signposting you in the right direction, I'm more than happy to do that. So that's it from me, and then a big thank you.
Same for me. Really, I'm going to drop my email in here as well. And if I cannot help you, I'm sure I will find someone that can. Just my overall conclusion, I've been a student at Loughborough myself. I've done my undergraduate here, and then I've moved on to be an executive officer. And I genuinely mean it when I say that Loughborough does provide life-shaping experiences. I've had so many opportunities to really grow and develop. And I really hope you have the same if you do decide to join us. Thank you so much for today as well.
Thanks, Anna, Liam, Joey, Jasmine. It's been a really, really good session today. I've certainly really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. So very much appreciated. I'm sure our students really appreciate hearing from you all today as well. Many thanks, and we'll end the session today. We will send the recording out at a future date. But thank you everyone for coming today and making the most of the session.